want you to just breathe for a minute. And then I want you to feel your bodies. So I want you to feel your butt on the chair, your feet on the floor, and I want you to focus on how is your body feeling to you? Is it hurting? Is anything uncomfortable? Are you tired? Do you have a headache? Do you have any actual issue in your body? Because we all know that if you do, which many people do, you have two options, right? You can go to the doctor, and they can try and figure out what's wrong with you. Why are you in pain? Why don't you feel good? Why can't you do what you want to do? And they do tests, they do labs, they do imaging, and they come up with a diagnosis, a label, right? And then they pretty much say, and too bad for you. Okay? So there's your diagnosis, whatever they came up with. And using their brains, as we know, right? Their brains, which is fine. All right, their diagnosis, too bad for you. Your options there are usually medicine or surgery, right? That's option one. Okay? Option two is they can't find anything out at all that's wrong with you, right? Which happens all the time. So they do test after test, scan after scan, and they got nothing. Nothing is coming up. And you end up with one of these. Well, we can't really figure it out. Actually, I have a relative who is a physician. He actually said this to me. I almost belted him across the face. I'm not a violent person, but I can be driven to violence when necessary. He actually said, if nothing comes up on the CAT scan or MRI, we assume the patient is making it up. True story. Anyway, I held back. Okay, but this is what we deal with all the time. Now, I'm a physical therapist. I've been in the medical industry for almost 30 years. And I don't know about you, but I think this is not okay. This is not okay. Imagine any other profession where they said, like, you take your car in, and they're like, well, you know, we can't really figure it out. You just have to deal with it. You just have to kind of go on your merry way with a broken car. It doesn't happen. And it's not acceptable in any other profession, right? So I'm in physical therapy school, and this is quite a long time ago. And what I'm being taught is great stuff. It's, anatomy, physiology, mechanics, all that stuff is fascinating. I loved it. And then we get to the techniques, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me with this, okay? One of those things, yeah. You got to be kidding me, right? Because it was pretty, lame. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to help people be okay with what's wrong with them. I want to help people get better. I'm a very, helpful person. It's all about healing. It's all about how can you get your life back. And this just didn't work for me. It did not work for me. So what did I do? I started taking a ton of classes. I started traveling all over the country and studying with the top people in the field of physical therapy. And I started trying out what they were doing. And I was trying to find the people who were really, really, really smart. And not just really, really, really smart, but really could get people better. And after years of trying and taking classes, going all over, I found a group that were brilliant practitioners. And what I found out was when I used what they were doing, I can actually help my patients get better. How cool is that? It's amazing. So what I'm going to share with you here is how I do this. And this is how we do it, okay? You ready for this? It's totally fascinating. Somebody actually said that I made health interesting, which I thought was very nice. Thank you very much. That's flattering. I try. Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to realize that is kind of the key to health and healing is that your bodies are not solid blobs of flesh. Okay? They're not. You're not solid. You are thousands of layers of tissue, all of which is moving, all of which is connected, all of which is communicating, and all of which is working really, really hard to keep you healthy and alive. Everything that your body does is to keep you healthy and living your life. Your body never makes a mistake. The problem is things can happen, and we don't know how those old things can affect us now. Does that make sense? All right? So again, your bodies are thousands of millions of layers of tissues, arteries, veins, lymph, nerve, organs, all organized, all sitting in a soup that's called fascia, which has gotten a good PR agent, because if you look online, there are tons of really good articles coming about fascia, finally, okay, because it's the key. All right, so you have all these tissues sitting in this soup of fascia. All right, what can happen then, where things start going down, is when you have infection, inflammation, trauma, you hit your elbow, you fall down the stairs, you fall out of a car, you're hit by a car. You fall out of a building. I can't tell you the things that my patients have had happen to them. And they're like, oh, I was fine. You were not fine. You were not fine if you were thrown out of a car that has been in a car accident. It's not physically possible. All right, if you fall out of a building, which has happened to fall out of a helicopter. I've had patients have that happen to them. You're not okay. You're not okay. Even if you walk out of that accident, phew, car accident, I'm good to go. Nay. Not the case, okay? Because what happens is all those tissues lock down and they stay locked. And guess what? All of your nerves, everything moving around has to move through that fascia. So when you have injury after injury, guess what? Those nerves start to get irritated and they start to scream. Guess what that causes? Pain. Okay? So pain in your body is an indication that things aren't okay. All right? So the first thing to understand is that you are not solid. You are thousands of layers of tissue, everything that needs to be moving, and that what can happen again is that things can get stuck. So far, we're good. You got me? Right, we're following me. Okay, step 2 is to realize that our hands are actually phenomenally sensitive. You have more nerve fibers in your hands than almost any other part of your body. And guess what? All those times my patients come in and nobody can figure out what's wrong with them because nothing comes up on a CAT scan or MRI, guess what we can do? We can find those areas with our hands. Because with training and practice, thousands of hours of practice, your hands can become so sensitive, almost like a musician. You know, musicians can hear different notes. I can't do that. American Idol, The Voice, I'm like, I don't know if they're flat, sharp, I have no idea, right? Or like a wine taster, okay? They can taste wine and say, well, it's from Burgundy, aged in a barrel for 12 years, you know, oak barrel, notes of truffle. I can't do that to save my life. But my hands have gotten so sensitive that I can pretty much do a CAT scan on a patient's body with my hands. Cray, but true. And very helpful, very, very helpful. Okay, step 3, what I want you to realize is that not only can the hands feel what's happening in your body, that probably is indicating things that happened a long time ago that you totally forgot about, but it can find those areas and then fix them. So I use something called integrative manual therapy, which is a combination of about 20,000 techniques. We can free up pretty much every tissue. What you may commonly hear of is something called myofascial release, which is part of that. And you can put your hands on the body, move it around, and free up that tissue. How cool is that? It's amazing. It's so cool. So let me have you do something, because I'm going to tell you a story, but I want to give you something to do so you're not going to get bored. So put your right hand on your heart and put your left hand across your low back, right where your speaker pack would be if you have them. Okay? And I want you to just kind of tune into your body and your heart. You may feel your heartbeat. You may just feel your body start relaxing. You're not going to hold it very long. I just want you to kind of feel it. All right? So the hands are so sensitive that as soon as you touch your body, things are starting to change. You don't have to have any pressure, again, just the contact. So just hold that for just a minute, all right, and see what you feel. I'll give you an example. So I had a patient come in not too long ago, and he's a guy in his maybe 40s, 50s, has had chronic back pain, and he couldn't play tennis without having to move around and readjust his back. And he said, every minute. I'm like, how are you doing that? You're like hitting the, and then doing this. It's just, anyway. So he could barely pick up dog poop without bending his knees. His back was just really tight. So we had him on the table, and I put my extraordinarily talented hands and trained on his body. And what I'm feeling for are areas of stuck tissue, right? And I come upon his right ankle, which was stuck, very, very stuck. It just felt like things were not moving at all. And I said, well, what happened to your right ankle? He said, well, when I was in high school, I shattered my ankle. And he used the word shattered, which sounds bad. That sounds bad. Even if you're not medical, that sounds bad. So I said, well, let's do this. Let's treat your ankle, and let's see what happens. I know you're kind of getting relaxed here, right? It's kind of relaxing, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to treat your ankle. And we looked at his back, but his back really didn't have a lot going on there. It was more the ankle. He came in the next visit. He walks in, he says, okay, we're calling you female Jesus. Which, I'm standing on a cross. It's a little shocking. I said, okay, why are you calling me female Jesus? He said, because in your first visit, you didn't do anything. All I felt was that your hands were on my body. So I don't know if you're sitting there, if you're feeling anything, you might be getting relaxed. You might feel heat coming out a little bit. You can hold if you want to. You can let down if you want. If it feels good, you can sit there. It feels nice. And I said, I know, because if you're a patient, it looks like, I'm just having my hands on there. He said, it's like magic. I said, well, there is a saying by Arthur C. Clarke, which is that any sufficiently advanced technology should be indistinguishable from magic. Ah, yeah, I love that saying. All right, so what we do is we work with patients and we work to feel what's happening in their bodies, what's gotten stuck, how is that causing problems in their lives now, that often with my patients, nobody could figure it out. And that's why they come to us, because we have really good hands. And then what we do is work to fix them. How cool is that? All right, so if you have things going on in your body, if you're having pain, if you're not comfortable, you feel like you're being limited, what you can do when you go home, you can do it on this is great to do on kids. Kids love this because it's super relaxing. You would put a hand on the part of the body where you had an injury. The other hand could go on this area. This isn't actually treating, this is something we give our patients to do at home because it helps decompress the tissue. So a hand on the part that was injured, a hand on your low back, and you hold it for about 20 minutes. And what you will feel, if it's an area with an injury, is you will feel often tons of heat coming out, you may feel buzzing, and the area should be a little bit more open. Kind of cool, right? Easy, cheap and easy. All right, if you have other issues, you may want to look for a practitioner in your area. Again, if you look for clinicians who do myofascial release, that's basically what we're doing. But my takeaway message, what I want you to really understand is that whatever is going on with you, there's probably a way to figure it out. And most things happen from old injuries that were never fixed. All right, so think about in your mind, what happened to you? Did you shatter your ankle? There are many things that happen that affect you later. All right, and that's my offering to you, is for health and healing.